Good evening, you're watching Estuary News. I'm Hugh Riches. In the headlines tonight, a new wellbeing service for North East Lincolnshire and transforming the lives of young people in Grimsby. And later in tonight's programme, I'll be talking to Chris McAleese about running the London Marathon for charity. And before that, Austin Mitchell on his latest book. The success of our students will remain our priority. That's the message from an agricultural college in East Yorkshire following the resignation of its chief executive, Jeanette Dawson. She left Bishop Burton College in Yorkshire and the same post at Rysholme College in Lincoln on Monday amid allegations of mismanagement. The college said that the allegations have not been substantiated and it was unable to comment further while inquiries continue. Deputy Principal Bill Meredith will now act as Chief Executive and Principal until a permanent appointment is made by the Board of Governors. There's set to be widespread rail disruption across our region next month. The RMT union has called a 24-hour strike on the 8th of November as part of the long-running dispute over driver-only operation of trains. Northern Rail services, which operate across East Yorkshire and North Lincolnshire, are affected and trains are expected to be busy. A spokesman for Northern said the company remains available for meaningful talks with the union and is focused on delivering better customer services in the future. The RMT's General Secretary Mick Cash said every single effort the RMT has made to reach negotiated settlements in these separate disputes with the different train companies, operating companies over safe operation and safe staffing has been kicked back in our faces. North Lincolnshire Council's wellbeing plan has launched a new service today. The free wellbeing service offers the people of North East Lincolnshire the chance to improve their physical health. It allows people to contact the service through the phone, face-to-face or online. Councillor Jane Hilden King explains the benefits to people in the service.
The Health Wellbeing Project is about trying to educate people about their health and wellbeing, to encourage them to become more fit and healthy. And part of this programme is to get people to come along to events. And there's the issues of no smoking, health and wellbeing. It's about healthy eating, even about jobs, giving them encouragement to get jobs. But it is about people really understanding that they must do something to make themselves fit and be able to go out there in the community. Well, it's like no smoking. It's important that people stop smoking. I am actually involved in the no smoking group, so it is about trying to encourage people not to smoke. Again, it's part of the health well-being. It's to get them to eat healthier, to get children educated, because if you've got parents that are educated, health well-being, they'll pass it on through their children as well. So it is important that as many people get involved in this event. Yes, I can look on the North East Lincolnshire website. There is an activity taking place on Friday in Grimsby, the centre of Grimsby, in the morning. So if they want to come along, and there'll be people there. We've got supporters who are going to explain what activities we've got available and to encourage them to get more involved. It is about reaching out to people and giving them the confidence to contact us, and we'll help you. Even areas of mental health, which is really big at the moment within North East Lincolnshire, we just want to be able to send out teams of people to support them. And if they contact us, we'll do everything we can to help them.
Delivery drivers across the East Riding are being warned to be vigilant after 2 cars were stolen after the drivers left the engines running. A silver Vauxhall Corsa was stolen in Cottingham on Monday after a fast food driver went to a property to make a delivery. A silver Toyota Avensis was stolen from Woodlands Road in Hull in an earlier incident. Humberside police say bogus callers are ordering food to steal vehicles. An historic part of Grimsby has been made a conservation area today. North East Lincolnshire Council sealed the status for the Casbah on the docks at a cabinet meeting this afternoon. The area was built in the 1870s and includes the Grade 1 listed Dock Tower and Grade 2 listed Ice House. The new status makes it easier to grant funding to conserve and develop the heritage sites. And a Grimsby charity is celebrating after securing a grant from Children in Need. CPO Media has been awarded £30,000 to transform the lives of local families with after-school clubs and school holidays. The charity works closely with the hardest to reach in the community, helping them return to education or work. Stephen Ryder, Managing Director of CPO Media, says the money will allow youngsters to enjoy activities they're interested in.
The funding gives our young people the opportunity to use our facilities after school and in the school holiday to do one or two more sort of exciting activities like kayaking, rock climbing. We've got a laser shooting day today, which is the first project delivery output that we're offering. So we're going to run this project, as I say, over 3 years. We're doing one or two bits of work with local partners. So one of the activities will be an overnight sail on the Cat Zero yacht, which is a great opportunity, I think, for young people to develop other skills, to go away, see what it's like to live in a confined space and see what develops out of that. So we're absolutely delighted to have obviously secured the funding.
Well, I got kicked out of mainstream school for a bit of violence and stuff like that. And as soon as I came here, I was quiet, I was shy, I didn't know anybody. There was people bigger than me, and like it was intimidating. But I got to know them a bit more. I started hanging out outside of school as well, and since then, like from the start throughout, I've completely changed my attitude towards people, my behaviour, and just got on with it really.
Grimsby MP Austin Mitchell has published a new book. I spoke to him a few days ago. Austin, welcome back. Thank you so much for coming in.
Pleasure.
It's always very good to have you in here. Let's talk about this book first of all. Revenge of the Rich, the Neoliberal Revolution, Britain and New Zealand. Revenge of the Rich. Is there a hint about your own feelings about this politics?
Oh, well, there is, but it's not Revenge of the Riches, it's Revenge of the Rich.
Well, sadly,
I'm not... a series of lectures I gave in New Zealand, because it seemed to me that Britain and New Zealand were the two examples of the countries which did worse because of what we call neoliberalism, or because you might call it market economics. Mrs. Thatcher came in, the old system wasn't working particularly well, we had balance of payments problems and industrial problems with the winter of discontent, and she started changing everything, and it was a dramatic impact on the whole economy. What the idea was that markets would decide things rather than the state. We would make the rich richer. In other words, they would get tax cuts, and that would trickle down to the poor instead of the state redistributing via the tax system. Now, the only problem, it's a brilliant idea, but the only problem with it was it didn't work. What happened was that so much of our industry was destroyed, and Britain had always lived by manufacturing. We closed down so much manufacturing under the stress of the Tory budgets and an overvalued currency that we could no longer pay our way in the world. So the end of it is a society in which we're all having to borrow and go into debt to keep up our living standards, in which the living standards of most of the people have not improved over the last 5 or 6 years, and in which we've got far more poverty and far less equality. It's a less fair, less dynamic, less powerful society which can't pay its way in the world. That's a tragedy.
What went wrong then with that post-war settlement that had succeeded in your thesis in the 50s, 60s and 70s?
What went wrong was that Britain grew too slowly. It was a system designed really by Keynesian demand management to provide full employment. In other words, to reward the people for their efforts in the war by creating a fairer society with a welfare state. What went wrong was that we didn't grow fast enough, and people tried to make up the ground through industrial action to get themselves more money through strikes and trade union action than they were getting through the natural processes of growth. And secondly, we ran into balance of payments problems. Every time the economy expanded, the pound was threatened. The government, to protect the pound, put up interest rates, and that cut off the growth.
But there was an equivalent sort of failure of that post-war settlement in New Zealand as well at about the same time, and that's what the comparison is. How did it turn out for them?
It turned out better for them than for us. They came in slightly later because the Labour government there, which introduced this market economics, was elected only in 1984, whereas Mrs. Thatcher came in 1979. So they were 5 years behind, and they didn't go quite as far as Britain had done. And in the end, the New Zealand people revolted, much smarter than we poor British. They rejected the system because there was a referendum on proportional representation, actually. And they voted in proportional representation because they felt that both parties had failed and punished the people rather than stimulated the economy and got growth. So that referendum, which introduced proportional representation, was the end of the neoliberal revolution. Here we had to wait for the Brexit referendum.
And that's the end
where the people effectively rejected austerity, rejected the European community.
Is that also the end of liberalism as well, with a small L, I mean, the idea that,
it was the end of
that liberty
because the government renounced
equality?
it, but she fired, one of the few good things which Theresa May did was fire George Osborne, who was the author of austerity, and say we're going to have a fairer system and more benefits from the people. And now they can't hold the line on austerity. They're going to have to increase wages and stimulate the economy and spend more to get some growth, because
so you'd say that
we can't pay our way to work.
The May government is effectively a neo-Keynesian government in that case.
It'll go back to neo-Keynesian. It will have to. I mean, it's more difficult now because we're less powerful.
Welcome back. You're watching Estuary News. Still to come tonight, some big questions for little people and Chris McAleese on raising funds for the YMCA. Today marks 6 months since a Hull woman went missing. 49-year-old mother of two, Renata Antchak, was last seen dropping her daughter off at school on Kingswood. Despite several appeals and extensive searches, there have been no reported sightings of her since then. 2 men were arrested in May in connection with her disappearance and charged with conspiring to cause grievous bodily harm and conspiracy to administer a noxious substance. However, the GBH charges were dropped and both men have been released on bail. A spokesman for Humberside Police said Mrs. Antchak's disappearance is an active and ongoing investigation. Beggars in Lincolnshire could be fined. Under new powers approved by North Lincolnshire Council yesterday, anyone caught begging in Scunthorpe and Barton will be issued with a £1,000 fine. The 3-year law will also see fines issued to anyone peddling goods and failing to surrender alcohol under the public protection orders. Halloween is just around the corner, so we thought we'd ask the children of Stepney Primary School in Hull if they think the infamous pumpkin is a fruit or a vegetable.
A fruit.
Why do you think that?
Because it has lots of seeds in, and when things have seeds in, they're usually fruits.
I think it's a fruit.
Why do you think it's a fruit?
Because there's a lot of orange fruits, and because it's that big, I don't really think it could be a vegetable.
I would consider it a vegetable.
Why not?
I don't know. I think it's it might not be right, but I feel like pumpkins are kind of savoury. So yeah.
A fruit.
Why do you think it's a fruit?
Because it's got loads of seeds in it, and most fruits have seeds, but not many vegetables do. So.
A vegetable, because it doesn't really seem to have the properties of a fruit. I'm pretty sure it's not juicy, whereas most fruits you can make sort of juice from them, and also it grows from soil or whatever.
Vegetable.
Why do you think it's a vegetable?
Just because it's similar to a carrot, and a carrot's a vegetable.
I'm going with the healthy veggies.
Why do you think it's a vegetable?
Because, I don't know, it's just in my mind.
It's a fruit because it contains seeds, and all fruit are vegetables as opposed to animals or minerals. I live to educate. Now, the YMCA Humber is calling on runners to put their best foot forward for young people in next year's London Marathon. I'm joined now by Chris McAleese to tell me how people can get involved and make a bit of a difference to the YMCA in this area. Chris, welcome. Thank you for coming in.
Thank you very much.
Now, I take it you're going to be running this 26-mile long race?
It's not for me, I'm afraid. I think that it might be on my challenge list at some point.
You're looking for volunteers to come and run it on behalf of YMCA?
That's quite correct, yeah.
And how do they get in, if people want to? Because you can explain in a moment how people get into the London Marathon.
Sure.
But it's not an easy process. But if people do want to come in under your flag, as it were, then how do they get in touch?
Well, it's as simple as looking at our website, ymca-humber.com, or you can email us at info@ymcahumber.com, and somebody will speak to you as quickly as they can. The process is straightforward. It's an application form, complete an application form. If there's only a limited number of spaces, so assuming there is spaces available, then usually people will get allocated one of those.
Because there's a ballot. If you want to come in as an individual runner, you sort of put your name in a ballot, and you've got about a 1 in 3 chance of getting into the race. But then this is, if you're going to run under the aegis of a charity, you've got to there's a second chance. So people who might have wanted to run before, weren't lucky, could maybe get in touch with you now and still get to race.
Yes, many people would have the aspiration of running the marathon, and would have entered the ballot and perhaps weren't successful in gaining a place, and would now be looking for a charity to support. Many charities have spaces available, and in return for providing those spaces, it is a requirement on runners to raise funds for that charity. For running the marathon in support of YMCA, our minimum requirement is £2,000. So all runners would need to raise £2,000.
It's a fair old bit of sponsorship, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, it feels a sizable chunk, but actually, if you start to break it down a little bit into whether it's achievable or not, first of all, private contributions can be gift aided, so that can bring in 25% of your sponsorship total. And then you're only down to sort of £1,500–1,600 perhaps, and break that over 3 or 4 months, and away you go.
Now, how are you going to select your runners? Because there's no point in being in it other than to win it.
Well, we're very keen to encourage all people to have a go. If you think that you're capable of doing it, then please, we'll have your application form
under
tomorrow.
no circumstances.
But yeah, if people want to participate in the marathon, that's what it's all about. It's not necessarily about running. It's not necessarily about breaking any records. It's about that achievement and that challenge of completing the 26 miles and being one of 50,000 people going through the streets of London on the 22nd of April.
And because you're running it in association with a charity or with the YMCA, you get a little bit of support?
Yeah, Team YMCA. There is more than 50 runners nationally running for YMCA. And with that in mind, it is a team event. So in preparation for the big day, there's various different fundraising activities that take place, and runners can get involved with those towards their personal targets and also to raise PR. And as part of the overall process, the entire team becomes a support process. Within the marathon process itself, within the run, there are points along the route, and there's one particular point where it's YMCA point, and then when you come to the end of the event, then there's a gathering of everybody there too,
and any necessary medical attention.
Yeah, blankets.
Okay, it's in April next year, the London Marathon.
That's correct. Yeah.
6 months away, 5 or 6 months away. I guess if you're going to be doing it, you've got to start getting in shape now.
Yeah, I mean, places are limited anyway. And so if people are considering that they would like to do the run, they need to be secure in their place now. And as a consequence of that, obviously, they need to be preparing for the big day. Training schedules and those kind of things, we can help individuals to pull together. So if someone's thinking about doing it...
Let's just remind us as why it's such a good cause. How many people has the YMCA and the Humber helped in this last year or so?
So in the last year or so, it's been over 6,000 people, 6,000 young people. We provide a range of youth services across the area.
It's not just accommodation, is it?
It's not just accommodation. We are more.
Not just that infuriating song either. Chris, thank you so much
You're
for
very
coming
welcome.
in.
Thank you.
Here is Fred with all the sport today.
Hull KR have strengthened the depth of the first team squad for their return to the Super League. They've signed experienced players Tommy Lee and Jordan Wayne. Hull-born Lee came through the academy ranks at Hull FC and has gone on to represent several clubs. It totals 200 first-team appearances during his career. Meanwhile, prop forward Warren joins the club from Salford Red Devils. A Leyland Warriors amateur, he spent time in Salford and Wigan's academy before progressing to the first-team level. He made around 50 league and cup appearances there. Warren has signed a one-year contract with the Robins, while Lee has signed on for 2 years. Hull FC Jake Connor says he's pleased with his progression in his first year at the club. Following his Yorkshire switch from Huddersfield Giants, he's hoping for another successful year with FC in 2018. The youngster struck up a good partnership with Mahe Funoa, but with him heading to NRL side West Tigers in 2018, Connor will have to build a new partnership with inbound outside back Burita Farameo. It's a challenge he's eager to embark on. Hull FC face big home games against Nottingham Forest and Middlesbrough next week. Leonard Slutsky's side have taken 7 points from their last 3 games, and Fraser Campbell knows that maintaining form like that will see them close the gap on the teams at the top of the table. The Tigers take on Nottingham Forest at the Cacom Stadium on Saturday. Kick-off is at 5:30 p.m. They'll host Middlesbrough next Tuesday night. Kick-off is at 7:45 p.m. Nathan Arnold has confirmed he'll play for Craig Disley's side in his benefit game next week at Blundell Park. Arnold secured a goal for the Mariners in the 2016 playoff final at Wembley. It confirmed the club's promotion to the Football League. And finally, Scott Oldham has been appointed to referee Scunthorpe United's clash away at Oldham Athletic on Saturday. It's the first time he'll officiate the Iron this season. He's refereed 12 games so far in his campaign. Kick-off is at 3 p.m. And that's all for the sport.
Thanks very much, Fred. That's it for tonight, I'm afraid. If you have a news story, then please visit our Facebook or Twitter pages. Details in the usual place. Email news@estuary.tv or phone Grimsby 01472315553 or write to us, Estuary TV, Grimsby DN345BQ. Should get to us. Until tomorrow, good evening.